Hi, and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
You are listening to Z Games, Australia's handsomest and hottest gamer radio show. We've got a very, very special episode coming up for you, but joining us in the studio, the Kung Fu hip-hop dancing Black Ranger, Razor.
Yeehaw, baby. That's me.
There he is.
I think.
Yes, the Blue Ranger was the nerd one with the Triceratops.
Thank you.
That's you. That's Alanah.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. And I have...
Orange. You're orange.
I'm orange.
I don't know if there was an orange ranger.
There was a Green Ranger.
Yes.
Yeah, he had like a gold shield thing on his chest.
Yes, he did.
That doesn't seem relevant.
No, but he was cool. I'll take that.
He had long hair and he could do kung fu, and his name was Tommy.
Yeah.
So I think that's the closest we've got to you, Lee.
That's right. Yeah. Now, listeners, the reason that we are going off on this tangent is that we all have very shiny, new, colourful headphones in the studio. So think of us like that. Think of us as shiny and attractive.
Quite like Titanfall,
Yeah.
which we'll be talking about today.
Yes. Golden segue.
Yeah. The beta was released last week. Hasn't come out yet. The game doesn't come out until the March
13th.
But a select and lucky few got into the beta early.
It's actually open now, so everyone, yay!
Everyone and their donkey got to play the beta on the weekend, except for me.
Aha.
So I'm going to play the role of the Inquisitor friend, and Alanah and Lee are going to tell me all about Titanfall later on in this episode. We've also got a...
You had to be there, Ray.
I did have to be there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Your experiences from now on will never eclipse what we experienced.
Until the game's released.
Even then.
Yeah, but it's not coming out on any Sony platform.
It's coming out on PC.
PC? Yeah, okay.
Anyway, let's move this episode along, shall we?
I pity you.
Alanah, you've also got some first impressions of the latest Donkey Kong game.
I do. Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropical Freeze, which I think is absolutely amazing.
But let's kick this episode of Z Games off, as usual, with the week in gaming news headlines, if you will, Mr. Lee.
All right. Irrational Games, the studio behind the BioShock series, will be closing down. A statement posted to the studio's blog, creative director and founder Ken Levine announced that he will be starting a new studio to focus on projects of a smaller scale. Around 15 members of the existing team will join Levine, while over 80 other employees will lose their jobs. Levine said that his new studio will make narrative-driven games for the core gamer that are highly replayable. The BioShock franchise will be handled by 2K Games in the future. Special arrangements are being made for employees affected by the closure to ease them into new positions. This is startling.
Yeah, it was a huge shock when I woke up this morning and found this in my news feed. It just came straight out of nowhere. I had no idea that Ken Levine was thinking about ditching Irrational Games at all.
It was announced at 4 a.m. for me, where I was still awake on the internet, as you do, and pretty much my immediate reaction was just absolute shock to think that a massive franchise or a company that has produced such a massively popular franchise is just gone now after like nothing happened.
Yeah, like no flops.
Yeah.
You look through their past games, even things like Freedom Force and SWAT and Tribes 3, like all great games.
And I mean, the press release that we got or Levine's actual statement was very vague. We really have no idea why.
He said it was creative reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have seen a few like high-profile AAA developers leave the AAA development scene. I mean, we saw Cliff Bleszinski last month, Peter Molyneux.
The doctors of BioWare leaving as well. But in that case, the company lived on after they left. So this is the first...
yeah, that's a little bit different. That's someone leaving because they want to change a pace, whereas I really feel like this has to be to do with finances. Regardless of them acting like it's not, it has to be. You don't leave a profitable business and just shut it down for no reason. It doesn't... That creative influences don't do that.
Was there no one that they could promote?
Sell it to?
Or, yeah, like, all they need is another guy in that one job, right?
But instead they just got rid of all of it, and it's got to be money.
Look, I couldn't presume to know what goes on in the head of
you have to.
Of those creative
You're
directors.
You're a pundit, Ray.
But what I'm assuming is that it's a huge tug of war between their creative expression and the guys upstairs, the guys in corporate who are trying to tell him what to do because of money, and maybe he just got sick of it and he wants to take control.
He says here that he wants to make narrative-driven games for the core gamer that are highly replayable. Has he played BioShock Infinite? That is what that game is. What is this guy complaining about? If being able to make such a strongly narrative-driven franchise wasn't enough for him, that he has to leave and reduce it to 15 and keep doing the same thing, it just doesn't make sense. I'd love to actually hear more aside from an obviously kind of bullcrap PR blog, which is what we got out of the announcement.
Yeah, this is one of those stories where I'm hoping that people will even anonymously, explain what's really going on here, because what we have got is nowhere near the real story.
And it's very odd for Levine himself to actually be a spokesperson instead of, someone actually just representing the company. It was sort of more from his perspective rather than the company's perspective, which is really strange.
Yeah, it was a press release written by the man himself, but then also explaining how also everyone else is fired. But I'm doing well.
I hope they didn't find out via that.
Oh, God.
That would be horrible.
Yeah. Moving on. Over 70,000 people tuned in to view a gaming experiment called Twitch Plays Pokemon. An anonymous broadcaster has created a script that allows users to control a Game Boy version of Pokemon by typing commands into the chat field. The result is a strange collaborative effort of thousands of people attempting to complete simple gameplay tasks simultaneously. A Twitch marketing coordinator said in a statement, "This is one more example of how video games have become a platform for entertainment and creativity that extends way beyond the original intent of the game creator. By merging a video game, live video, and a participatory experience, the broadcaster has created an entertainment hybrid custom-made for the Twitch community."
And they are failing terribly.
They're doing okay.
It took 3 days to get through 3 gyms and...
Yeah, but how did they even catch a single Pokemon when it's
They struggled.
When it's 70,000 people?
It's an absolute mess, but it's not frustrating in that it's a mess. It's actually funny. They got into the Team Rocket's lair, which is really complicated to get through because it's puzzles all over the floor.
Yeah.
And then someone used the escape rope.
Yeah.
So they'd spent hours trying to get through these puzzles, and then some douchebag managed to use an escape rope and ruined it for everybody.
The 2 times that I have watched it, they were desperately attempting to cut a tree in order to get through the map, and it's difficult to do that in the first one because you have to go into several nested menus, and people kept making them do other things and cut other things and look at the Helix Stone.
So much Helix Stone.
And then... the last time I checked, they were trapped in Team Rocket's hideout where they were just constantly going through the moving floor. Maze.
Yeah. That's the one where some idiot used an escape rope.
Yeah. They had apparently progressed past the first maze, and then someone sent them back downstairs, and they were just in this endless cycle. And people were going crazy. They were just...
Some people are trying really hard to actually be productive, and then other people are releasing Pokemon into the wild for no reason.
I guess it's kind of like a battle between those two factions. The people that want this to succeed and the people that desperately want this to fail and to annoy everyone.
This is democracy.
I see some kind of beautiful metaphor in that.
Yeah, it's democracy at work. This is how our nation is run, in fact.
It could be an allegory for, a large government.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
people are people are pushing the start button apparently, and that's just annoying the hell out of everyone.
Yeah. Yep. It's a real dick move.
And they just keep thinking it's funny.
Yeah.
People are doing the same thing over and over and still thinking it's funny.
You underestimate these trolls.
Clearly.
They actually...
They find everything funny.
Yeah.
They just love it.
Yeah, but you know what's great, though, is that what people don't realize is that this same script is plugged into a game of Tetris also streaming on Twitch. So all those commands, it could actually be these people aren't trolls. They're actually trying to desperately play a game of Tetris without realizing that
they're accidentally on the wrong one.
Yeah, all of their things that are helping them clear lines are totally disrupting the other game.
I wonder if they'll ever finish it.
I think they will.
This
is the Million Monkeys thing. We'll never be able to write Shakespeare, but we're going to beat the Final Four.
How long do you think that'll take?
Well, they kind of... I think they did better timing-wise than I did when I first played it.
That's embarrassing.
Not really. I was young.
And that's it for the news. Next up, we'll be talking all about the Titanfall beta. I have many questions to ask Alanah and Lee. Over the past week, the Titanfall beta was unleashed onto the masses. It was an open beta, so anyone with an Xbox One or a PC was allowed to join, and generated a large amount of hype. Lee and Alanah were lucky enough to be able to play. Tell me about it, guys.
It launched on Valentine's Day, which was...
Titantine's Day.
Yes, okay. That was disruptive. I can tell you that much. But I'm still alive, so there's that.
Why don't we start by explaining the general gist of the game, the concept of the game?
Robots.
Yeah, pretty much just robots, full stop. Titanfall is a new FPS made by Respawn Entertainment, and it's going to be published by EA. Basically, it's very similar to most other FPSs, as they are all quite similar, except that you have giant robots / power armor. I think the jury's still out on that. I don't know which one they are.
Yeah.
If they're mechs or power armor.
Oh, I think they're mechs, because they're too big to be power armor.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose because you sit, you
Yes.
don't wear it. All right, let's go. Let's go with robots.
Yeah. Now
Every now and then you spawn, and you are able to fight in. So it's like every maybe minute you get a massive advantage, and the whole game changes, and your strategy will change based on these giant robots. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. Now, you were saying that it plays like every other FPS out there, but that's because the lead designers of this were the guys that created Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is kind of the template that all subsequent FPSs have been based on. And this, there's a lot of new ideas or ideas from other games that have not quite been implemented in this way, in this kind of multiplayer shooter before.
Well, the concept of mechs are nothing new, of course. The Mech Warrior series. But also the free-form movement of the pilots.
Yeah.
You can sort of double jump using your jetpack. You can run alongside walls. I mean, that was used in several other games like Tribes.
Yeah, although
It's very awkward.
It feels a lot more like it's more parkour, more urban traversal, so it feels like a combination of, say, Mirror's Edge and even a little bit Assassin's Creed.
I would say definitely Mirror's Edge. You can sort of jump between buildings and you bounce off one to the other. Maybe even like Mario, the original Mario 64, where you could jump between walls. It's that kind of stuff, but I find it very hard. But I don't feel like that's a fault of the game. I just have trouble with the timing.
Yeah.
You're playing on the Xbox One, right, Alanah?
I am.
I am playing it on the PC, and the travel I actually found a lot easier than when I was playing it when I played the Xbox version at EB Expo. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that. I've also noticed that I'm one of the few people who is really taking advantage of the added verticality, because the levels are built to take advantage of the fact that you are able to leap great distances and clamber up everything. The climbing, I think, is going to sort of play into people's strategy a lot more, but people don't look up in first-person shooters. And that's great, because that's where I am with a gun. So keep doing that, players of Titanfall.
Yeah, the way that you can actually run along the walls, which it's really like bouncing, like a bouncy ball. You just bounce along them more than anything else. I think that really changes the basic strategy, and I think this is a game that really throws people who are good at FPSs out into the group of everyone else who has no idea what they're doing. It's like starting all over again, and they've done a really, really good job of making it innovative and honestly exciting, because it's still at that stage where it's unpredictable and you don't know if you're going to do well, you don't know what you've done wrong. Everything's just up in the air all the time and very fast-paced.
Yeah, what I found with the beta was that it reminded me of the very early days of Team Fortress 2, when strategies were still kind of being generated and people didn't really know how to play the classes and how they played off one another. And that level playing field is really exciting, and I think that it really is because there are these really interesting new ideas being wedged into this well-established format. So it's quite genre disruptive.
So you think that it will not just appeal to the FPS fans, but also the general gaming community as well?
I'd like to think so. I hope that it allows for new blood to come in. I think that's what Respawn seemed to be really, designing for.
I don't really enjoy FPSs a lot, but I am really enjoying Titanfall. But that said, I don't think that it's going to be something that I'm going to be playing all year long. I think that when it actually launches, I won't play it for more than a month or so, because I feel like it will eventually get repetitive, and I'm already feeling that I can't just sit there for hours and hours and hours and play it. But, of course, we haven't played the single-player campaign just yet, which really could change everything.
Well, there isn't going to be a single-player campaign in the traditional sense, is there?
No, it's multiplayer, so the actual campaign or the story mode of the game is multiplayer in itself. I suppose it's just a habit to say single-player. But it's obviously not deathmatch, which is what Lee and I have been playing.
Yep. So the big draw card of the gameplay, it seems to me, is the Titans. Can you explain to me what happens when you get into a Titan and what advantages that brings to the battlefield?
You're in a robot?
It's a great big robot who snatches you out of the air and jams you in his belly. It's great. You get a completely different sense of scale to begin with, which is really...
And you feel incredibly powerful, which I always find exciting. The minute that you see your Titan fall, which is why it's called Titanfall, because they fall, you're like, hell yes. Because you have so much power, but you're still not actually that overpowered. You just have higher defenses more than anything. But there are a lot of anti-Titan weapons that the pilots have, which can take you out really quickly as well. So even having the Titans just fully changes the way that you were playing before your Titan fell. So it just mixes up things even more, and I don't know, it's exciting.
When I initially started playing, I was, hopping into the Titan and getting around and being immediately blown up because you become a massive target as you are in a giant multi-story robot. And then I discovered that you can still, run around as the pilot with your Titan following you and being your robot companion. And he was doing much better without my help. So from now on, that's pretty much it. I have a giant buddy, and he's going to ensure that people don't kill me, and I'm just going to spring around and hide mostly.
That's cool. So there's a couple of different strategies. You can either use the Titan to destroy things, like with you inside it, or you can use it as a distraction while you go around and kill the people who are trying to kill the Titan.
Yeah, and there are also 4 different types of Titans. So, I mean, each of the Titans has a different weapon and different strategies to use, even with them. And I haven't actually decided which classes I'm going to play as for the pilots and Titans yet, but even so, the game is just so, I don't know, dynamic, really. There's just so many options and so many different strategies based off of all of those things. But yeah, the Titan on Titan warfare is what each match tends to focus on.
I've heard much about this pistol that automatically locks on and how good it is. Other people have told me how bad it is. What are you guys' takes on it?
It's a really well-designed weapon. It requires some skill to be able to use properly, even though it doesn't require some other skills that a lot of other games do, but I think they balance it well. What do you think, Alanah?
I actually really like it.
Yeah.
So it basically gives you a small advantage, but you still need to have reasonable aim and reasonable strategy to be able to get that advantage. So it's not just handed to you on a platter.
Yeah.
But when you can get yourself in a position where you can lock onto a target without them knowing you're there to avoid you, then it works really, really effectively.
Yeah. So
I love it.
You've got like quite a wide reticule that you can use, and if you have that over your opponents, you start to build up a lock on, and there are kind of robot scrubs that are running around that are worth 1 point, and then other players are worth more points, and it takes longer to get the amount of locks on required to actually kill another player. So it requires the ability to stay out of the line of sight and keep your pistol on them for some time. So it feels very much like that sort of assassin class in other team-based first-person shooters, because it still requires finesse to be able to pull off, and you're incredibly vulnerable while you're trying to do that as well. So I can see a lot of people not liking it and thinking that it's a bit of a cheat, but I think that it actually, there's a good balance of risk and reward there.
How do you feel about the presence of the AI in multiplayer, Lee?
I really like it, because the game is it's a 6 versus 6 arena style first person shooter, which is much smaller numbers than you would find in most modern FPSs. But because there are AI troops on both sides running out and also kind of filling the map up, you get that sense of scale. But you also then don't have, if they had filled that map up with that many players, then they wouldn't be able to
too many Titans.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to give everyone a Titan every 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was initially skeptical about the 6 versus 6 thing, coming from playing Battlefield, which is 32 on 32, and I thought, oh man, that sounds a bit watered down. But when I thought about the amount of Titans that could potentially be on the battlefield, it totally makes a lot of sense.
It's immediately obvious that it would be way too overwhelming if you had any more. You could maybe have 10, but even so, I think that would be too much, because there's still Titans pretty much constantly, and it's better when there's only 1 or 2 on the field. If all 6 people or all 12 rather, had Titans all at once, it would just be a disaster. So, making that 32 v 32, it'd just be insane.
Yeah.
That would be fun once.
Yeah, and I think the use of the AI really sort of fleshes it out so the map still doesn't feel empty. And it also kind of gives you a weird little ego boost for someone who's really bad at FPSs. There's these things that I can just kill really easily.
Yeah,
It's handy.
Killing the AI also contributes to your team score as well. So it means that for people who may not be that great at being able to kill other dudes, they still have these other targets that are still worth something. So again,
it makes it fun for noobs.
Yes, it's a concession for players who haven't been playing these games for the past decade.
Okay, so it's noob friendly.
It's noob friendly.
It is very, actually.
Yeah, but it seems like there actually is a lot of depth and a lot of new strategy to discover in there as well. It's hard to say.
I'd love to see how it turns out competitively.
Yeah, that's it. Like, will this game have the legs that they want it to have? That's the thing that we can't really talk about yet.
Yeah, it seems like a very fast-paced game. Like there's a lot of action and a lot of running around, and there's a lot of amazing things happening. Is that at the expense of a deeper team strategy?
Yeah, I've not found that much teamwork when I've been playing, except between me and my giant robot buddy.
I would agree with that, but I wouldn't say it's any different to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Which is really what it's competing with. It's quite different to Battlefield because Battlefield you start so far apart and your team gets time to gather itself, whereas in this you spawn and you're in the action. But the fact that you don't have teamwork doesn't feel like a huge flaw on behalf of the game. It's sort of just an FPS thing.
Although,
or a map size thing.
Yeah, it could be that. I didn't get to play much of the more team-oriented game types.
Yeah, there's like a King of the Hill kind of game type, but I didn't get to play that one either.
Yeah, so maybe people will improve.
I kind of doubt it.
I imagine if you had a crew, though, that you ran with...
If you play with your friends, then yeah, for sure.
It'd
be great, and that's why I said, I think it'll be really, really interesting to see how it works out professionally.
Because there are a lot of options, actually, for team play with the Titans as well. So you can, if your friend has a Titan, you can hop on the shoulder of that thing and ride around on top of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yes, it is pretty great. Riding shotgun on your friend's giant robot. So... yeah, obviously they've built that concept into it.
Yep. We are talking about Titanfall, which is coming out in the middle of next month for Xbox One, PC, and the Xbox 360. Now, you guys just played the beta, so there are only a couple of maps available. Was this enough to give you help you make up your mind whether you want to buy the game and play it or not?
I'm so keen.
Yeah.
And everyone I know is incredibly excited. This is one of the most exciting new franchises I've played in a very long time.
Yeah, look, it's been a while since I've really cared about a multiplayer game, particularly like a first-person shooter, but a multiplayer one as well. Like this is new and fresh, and no one really knows how to be good at this game yet, and that's exciting to me.
That's Titanfall, and you're listening to Zed Games. We'll be right back, and Alanah's going to tell us about Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze.
Roger that.
You are listening to Zed Games. All right, Alanah, you have recently gotten your hands on the most recent Donkey Kong game.
I have. I should mention that what I played before getting into this was actually beta. Though it felt very shiny and perfect, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I feel like if I had the chance to have a Wii U, which is what this is on, to be able to play it, that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze would probably be my first 10 out of 10 game.
10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the addendum that because it was the beta, we can't actually
And
give
I also
it that.
don't have a Wii U, so I haven't actually completely finished the game. I played about 8 hours.
So we can't say that this is a 10 out of 10 game.
Just maybe potentially would have been in some alternate universe. So it doesn't really count.
Yep.
So this is like a sequel to the Donkey Kong Country Returns, which came out a few
which
years
is on
back.
the Wii, but of course this franchise has been in existence for a very, very long time.
Yep.
It's basically a series of 3D levels that are all incredibly pretty, and it's all platforming, which I'm absolutely all for that. So the idea is that you traverse through these levels, and there's several things in them that you have to collect. Usually you'll have to do each one more than once to actually be able to collect every single thing you can. There's things like bananas, there's coins, there's little letters, like you have to collect Kong throughout the level and stuff like that. So there's a lot of incentive to replay the levels, and it's absolutely not boring because each of them is so ridiculously pretty. Like, there's one that feels a lot like The Lion King. You're in some kind of jungle and everything's just sort of bobbing to the beat of the music and the trees are swaying and there's birds trying to attack you and you're just trying to roll across all these levels. And I don't know, it just throws stuff at you that you really don't expect. Like, at one point you'll just be, jumping across platforms. It's just normal platforming business, and then suddenly you have to jump across these trees and cling onto a tree and climb up it to jump onto the next one, and flipping around the screen and flying across the screen, and there's barrels that just shoot you everywhere, and it's really exciting and sometimes a little bit stressful because everything's can get really fast-paced, but more than anything, it just draws you in by being so pretty and so obviously polished that you just want to absorb the whole game.
So it sounds like it's really playing up to the legacy of the Donkey Kong Country series, which was gorgeous and then at times mind-numbingly difficult. Razor, do you have any experience with this? Did you play it on the SNES?
I played the very first one.
Yeah.
I remember being blown away by the graphics. Absolutely incredible. Looked like claymation. Yeah,
1994, there you go.
Yeah. It's good to see that, the...
Razor was 42 then.
It's good to see that the series tradition of having, gorgeous graphics is still here. Although, I'd like to know, Alanah, what is your history with the franchise? Is this your first Donkey Kong Country game, or have you played the others as well?
This is the second one that I've played, but this is the first one that I played for this amount of time.
Yep.
So I played the other one maybe at a friend's house. I think it was my cousin's house when I was a kid, actually. And I do remember it, and I remember really liking it, but this is probably the most amount of time that I've ever put into a platformer like this, is this one.
The only thing that concerns me is that it seems very similar to its predecessors. Maybe
I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, but the fact that the levels themselves are just so bright and, like I said before, everything just dances and there's all these different animals just doing their own thing, and there's one level that's underwater, and the underwater levels actually do a really good way of paying ode to the previous games, where they have remixes of themes from the previous games in the underwater part. So it's just like Donkey Kong theme, but it seems like it's been played underwater, and it's all really just, I don't know, slow and pretty. And one level particularly has this squid that is just attacking stuff from behind you, and you don't know where its little tentacly bits are going to just fall onto the screen, and you have to dodge it the whole way, and it's frantic and overwhelming.
That sounds
and
awful.
I couldn't do that one, actually.
Yeah.
I couldn't finish it. I did see someone else finish it, and it was the whole time there was maybe 4 of us in a room watching the Nintendo rep play this game. We're all like, oh god, oh watch out, oh god, because it's so intense. But the fact that it was so pretty to watch, and you don't know where anything's going to come from, and I don't know, I feel like even if you'd played all of them, because the level design is so creative, that you'd still really appreciate it.
I see.
The mechanics are still very similar, though. Just roll, run.
Ride on a rhino.
Ride on rhinos, you can do that.
I saw that Donkey Kong's friends, so there's Diddy Kong, there's Grandpa Kong.
Cranky Kong.
Cranky Kong, yeah,
Cranky's
yeah.
new.
Well, Cranky was...
No, he was from the original.
Yeah, he's the original one.
Not the original Donkey Kong game, but I'm talking about the original Donkey Kong Country game.
No.
94.
Actually, he is... In their canon of the Donkey Kong Country games, Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong who steals the princess that Mario has to go and get.
Okay, wow.
And that's why when in Donkey Kong Jr., which came out afterwards...
Yes. Right. Okay, so those are the original characters from those games.
Donkey Kong Jr. has the same tie that...
Do you mean Diddy Kong?
No. Because
There's Donkey Kong Jr.?
Donkey Kong that you know now with the tie, the DK tie, is actually Donkey Kong Jr. from Donkey Kong Jr., the sequel to the arcade game from the 80s.
Oh my god.
I just had no idea how all these games tied together. I just thought it was a bunch of random monkeys.
Oh no, there's 25, 30 years of continuity here.
Right. So anyway, the point I was getting at originally was that I saw in one of the gameplay trailers, Alanah, that Diddy Kong can jump on Donkey Kong's back and that it augments him somehow?
Yeah, so you get these little barrels every now and then that have DK, and that's in red, and then the other DK, which is for Dixie. Which is in pink, and then there's Cranky Kong, which is in yellow. So you pick up the little barrel, and whenever you throw it, so it'll keep spinning, and if you throw it, you'll get that little companion, and then they jump on your back. They all have different little perks. Cranky Kong, in my opinion, is the suckiest one. He just has a cane that he can bounce on, so there's some kind of floors that you can't touch. If it's fire or if it's spikes or something like that, then you need his cane to bounce along it, otherwise you can just jump. The other two can basically fly, which is far more handy in a platformer than having a cane. So I'm not a huge fan of Cranky Kong, but having those little guys help you, and they only really they come off you when you lose 2 health bars, so you've got 4 all up if you have them, so you won't die. But having them with you makes it so much easier. You can also co-op the game now, as one person can play as Dixie or Cranky, and the other person can play as Donkey Kong.
Okay, that was something that was featured in the original SNES game. One player could be Donkey Kong, and the other player could be Diddy Kong. Now, just like Lee and I were discussing last week about Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with Sonic and Tails, the player who got Diddy Kong was just absolutely shortchanged, man.
Oh, man.
Because Diddy Kong would just disappear from the screen and then be like, oh, hey, where's my dude?
I don't think that happens in this.
It was definitely Little Brother mode. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is the opposite. Whoever has Donkey Kong is kind of screwed, because Donkey Kong can't fly, and so sometimes Donkey Kong will need to pick up Diddy Kong. So obviously, whoever's number 1 is Donkey Kong, and you can pick up Diddy and put him on your back, and then the player 2 is like, well, I can't do anything right now. But it really encourages teamwork, and I would say that Diddy is actually more fun to play as because it's a lot easier. And for someone who sucks at platformers like me, I was happy to play as Diddy Kong.
Excellent.
Did you get a chance to have a look at the replay mode that they've added to this game?
No, tell me about that.
Okay.
Is that the time trials? Because there are those.
It's similar to it, and Razor, you might find this feature to be somewhat familiar. They have added the ability to, once you've done a time trial run through a level, you can upload your run to the global leaderboards, where you can see where you are ranked against everyone else who has done that level, and you can watch their playthrough to figure out how they have managed to perfect that run.
Excellent.
So as beta, I didn't quite have that.
No, but
that's really cool.
It is. It's a really cool function. Razor, we have seen this before.
Yeah. A bunch of different games have this feature.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
It's great.
I want to be the guy that everyone wants to copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never going to happen, though.
It definitely takes several times of doing the same level as it would in all the previous games, I imagine, before you actually know what to do or where to expect things to happen to get it right. So I think watching other people play through it and seeing how they figure out little secret hidden doors and all the stuff all the massively different things are in levels that you don't expect would actually be really exciting. It would add a lot more to the game.
Definitely. And I guess those parts where you brick wall, everyone's got to that point in the game where you just can't progress because you don't know how. It's easy just to not even have to get out of the game, but to watch someone else more skilled than you do it, and then you get some ideas about how to tackle that problem.
More of a community focus like that also seems a lot more appealing than having to YouTube it or something.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool.
That was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is available now for the Wii U. Thank you very much for that review, Alanah.
Not a review.
Not a review.
For that
beta preview.
Beta preview. Yeah, my mistake.
10 out of 10 for the beta.
All right, when we return, Alanah's got another preview of Castlevania, Lords of Shadow
2.
Okay, now, Alanah, you have been fortunate enough to get you had some hand-on time with Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 2.
I did, yes, which is the first Castlevania in which you play as Dracula. And I don't know, the franchise has been around for like 20 years.
I remember playing the original.
There's been a lot of Castlevanias.
Yep.
This is the first one where you play as Dracula, and Dracula is depressed, and Dracula wants to kill himself, but Dracula can't because he's a vampire. And also a lot of other people want to kill Dracula, but can't because he's a vampire. So he goes and talks to this one guy who can kill him, and this one guy is like, hey, if you kill Satan, I'll kill you. So that's the basic plot of the game, is that everyone wants Dracula dead, including Dracula.
Why is Dracula lost his mojo?
He's very upset about what happened in the previous game. There are several extremely lengthy cutscenes in the first 4 or so hours of the game where you'll find out vaguely what happened there. It's to do with his family more than anything, and he's just really upset and not having a good day.
Why are we talking about this when we need to focus on the fact that the plot of this game is that Dracula is asked to kill Satan?
No biggie.
Yeah. Like, why isn't every game given that plot?
Just a day in the life of Dracula, man. No big thing.
I feel like it's more interesting that Dracula can't kill himself.
Dracula's sad because of his ex-wife.
Yeah, basically.
It's about that.
But he can't die.
Mostly he's... Yeah, okay.
But, so Satan's coming back as revenge for something that also happened in the previous game. That's how it starts out. And Dracula's just sitting on his throne in the modern day, which is actually really cool. The game does turn into being open world. It was likened to Kingdoms of Amalur.
Okay.
But I didn't get to see that because it doesn't unlock for about 12 hours. So this is going to be a big game, and also it's open world in the modern day. So when you walk outside of Dracula's castle, you're just on this street, and you're obviously a vampire. You look very much like a vampire, but the people on the street just treat you like a normal normal person
So-
until you eat one of them.
Are you in, like, present-day Transylvania?
You are, yes.
What is present-day Transylvania like?
There's a lot of poverty.
Yeah,
Mm,
right.
not great.
Are there cars?
Yeah, there are cars.
Okay.
And Dracula's castle is just, for some reason, nobody just questions it. It's like this. It's like a labyrinth. It's massive, and a lot of the games. I don't know whether it's actually psychological with Dracula or not, but a lot of the game, even when you're in the modern day world, you'll somehow just get drawn into the castle.
Right.
So it sort of swaps between the two things all the time, and the enemies differ depending on that. So when you're in the modern day world trying to get through these facilities, there's a stealth mechanic which doesn't exist in the previous games, which has been added in and is really cool.
Uh-huh.
You can turn into
Bats?
rats.
Even better.
Rats.
Why not?
Yes. So you walk into darkness, and the darkness tends to have a rat in it, and then it like covers his face in blackness, and his eyes just go red, and then he melts into a rat, and you can move around. And
I have a question. Who here in this room, their general experience is that darkness has rats in it? This is a psychological test as well as one of personal hygiene.
Not me.
I don't think that's a thing.
Good to know. Okay.
All right.
I actually quite enjoy rats.
Yeah.
I had a pet rat for a time, and
I have no issue with rats.
yeah,
That
I like
sounds,
rats.
that sounds
I'm
like
now
you.
also more fond of them, that you can use them to get through puzzles in Castlevania,
Yeah.
which is super handy.
Yep.
The puzzles are all very simple, actually, but yeah, having the stealth mechanic is really cool. It wasn't something I expected to see in Castlevania, so therefore it's a sweet little thing to have.
Sneakula.
Sneaky.
It seems pretty logical, though. I mean, Dracula.
He's
one
a
of his-
vampire.
He's a vampire. He should have the ability to be sneaky and stealthy. I mean, how does he get his kills otherwise?
Well,
He's got a big sword.
no, but he does. Yeah, he does have a big sword, and he has these little claw fisty things. But mostly the combat is really hack and slash. But there is one sequence where you just sort of have to feed, because Dracula's been half in slumber for a very extensive period of time, and he's all very skinny and frail. So he just corners a family and then eats one of them while they're all crying and screaming. And you feel terrible, but it's supposed to remind you that Dracula is a monster and you're not meant to empathize with him, but you do anyway. And I think that's the reason that the game is R18.
Okay. So the Castlevania games have been in the past about a dude with a whip who is going into a castle to whip things. Lots of whipping. The previous game, Castlevania Lords of Shadows 1, you were playing as this same guy who, spoiler alert, now that the sequel is out, becomes Dracula.
What? Are you kidding me, Lee?
Yeah. So
Spoilers over the radio, man.
Sorry.
Someone's going to be annoyed at you.
I know, I'm so sorry, but that is literally, like, it says it on the box when you buy it. So, good luck with that. Anyway, so do they still have all that whip chain stuff, or is that out the door
little.
now that you... Okay, so
yeah,
he still has
there's
that?
one weapon that's quite like that, but
Okay,
not exactly the same. No, it's been changed up a fair bit.
okay.
But really what I would like in the entire game too is like Legend of Zelda, but extremely gothic, and it doesn't apologize for being extremely gothic, also crossed with Darksiders. That's exactly what it feels like.
One more question. Does anyone do the accent? The Dracula accent.
No, but there are actually an incredible cast of voice actors in the game.
Okay, do it.
Jon Snow is one of them, the guy from Game of Thrones. Don't know his actual name. Does anyone?
Is Patrick Stewart still in this one? He was in the
Yes.
last one.
Yes.
Is he doing the accent?
I'm not sure.
Can you do the accent?
I'm going to be honest. What I played, the sound was not working very well.
Oh.
Do the accent.
You should just do the accent.
Yeah.
Dracula.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Ray?
How often does Dracula say his own name, though? Say
I
something.
don't think he does at all.
Just say, "I want to suck your blood."
No, you
Like
do
Dracula.
it. What?
Yeah, I know
I'm
you
not
do
doing
it. Yeah.
Oh well, you're putting me on the spot
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, you should. This is how we close our show
Okay.
out.
I want to suck your blood.
Nah, awful.
Yeah, you're listening to Z Games, and I'm sorry.
You made me do it.
Yeah.
You could have done it well.
All right. That was Lords of Shadow 2, which comes out for the PC, PS3, and 360 when?
28th, I believe.
Yeah.
28th
We may need to
of-
fact check that, but it's the end of this month.
And that's going to wrap up the show for this week, guys. As usual, thank you very much for listening. Lee, you're going to tell us where to get our podcast and where to check us out online and stuff like that?
By gosh, yes. You can find us on iTunes searching for Z Games AU, and our Facebook is Z Games AU something something. We have to
And
go.
as is our Twitter.
Yes.
All right, guys. We'll
Roger
catch you next
that.
week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. This has been Z Games, recorded live in Brisbane on 4ZZZ and heard nationally thanks to the Community Radio Network. For more information on the show and to join the Z Games community, head to our website, zgamesau.net, that's spelt Z-E-D, or send us an email at contact@zgamesau.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Z Games is produced with the assistance of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.